All right, guys, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. This is the Solo Barndo Build, and today I'm going to be framing up and standing 3 of these walls you see behind me. And I've told you it's from the beginning, there's going to be times where it's going to be beneficial to you to find a friend or family member to help you, and this is one of those situations. I called my dad up, he came up, and it was super helpful to have an extra set of hands in this part of the build. So you'll see later on in this series where I build out one of the end walls all by myself. Definitely more difficult, it's doable, but this is one of those situations where you should plan out, try to find a friend or a family member that can help you when you're standing your walls. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright guys, we're back out here and have all my columns prepared, which I went over you with in the last step. So next step is to frame up my wall. So as you can see here, we have our brackets, we have all of our column locations. So what we're going to do is we're going to match the bottom measurement with the top measurement, and then we'll square the first bay, and then we can frame this entire wall as we go across, just pulling measurement, making sure your bottom measurement and top measurement match, and then we'll be good to go, and this wall will be nice and square. It'll be the same length at the bottom and the top, which means we can plumb our corner. So we're gonna go ahead and get going on laying all this out. Alright guys, so initial layout on the wall. If you're gonna build them on the ground, I line up my bottom mark with the edge of my brackets. Just gives me a nice consistent consistency across. When I put my girts on, they're all lined up. And then what I do is I measure from the edge here to the edge there, and then line those up accordingly. And then I just work my way all the way down. So that's my initial setup. Now that I have these locked into the brackets and I have them close, we'll start laying out our girts, and as we go we will tack them in and make sure this is square and just work our way across, making sure the bottom measurement matches the top measurement. Alright guys, now that you have your whole wall laid out, tacked in there, what I do is I figure out how I'm going to lift this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. So I'm going to do a lift of 3 and then of 2 and 2. So I know these 2 columns will go together. So what I'm going to do is this girt will stay with that column over there. So I'm just going to slightly pull that up so I know not to nail it. And then I know these 2 columns go together, so this board will stay with the others. Or they'll stay with the others. So those will all stay. And then these three will all go together. So all that gets nailed, and then just these ones that splash here. Now I can go through and nail these all off. If you use screws, it's not that big a deal, but I always raise those because I nail these with 30D ring shanks, and once those are in, they're not coming out. So now I know I have a lift of 3, 2, and 2. So now I'll nail all these off with the jumbo nailer. This jumbo nailer is the BRT 130. It's boss stitch. I also have the Fasco. They both work amazing. This one's half the price, so you guys got to pick what you want. All right, so now we have these all nailed off. Like I said, we just backed this screw out just a little bit, so that's loose now. So this board will stay with that set of columns, and then this one will obviously go with that one. And then when we put this up, we squeeze it together. All we have to do is quickly run that in, and then that'll tack it in place. We can come back and nail it. So we've done that all the way down. One other thing I do is I just mark the edge of my column on here, so I make sure I get it exactly. There's a little bit of play sometimes in between the bracket. You can get these different sizes, but depending on how these get planed, how much gets planed off, there might be a little play, or it might be really, really tight. Just kind of, you want a nice, decent fit, but these do suck in pretty well. So now we are all ready to lift this wall. It's 11 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and frame all that one up, and then after lunch, we'll stand these up. Is that close enough for you, Dad?
That'll work.
It'll settle a little bit.
Perfect.
All right, one of the most common questions I get is about garage door headers or just the use of a stub column. So anytime you get off your 8-foot spacing or whatever spacing it is that you're using, it's one of our buildings, it's gonna be an 8-foot spacing, you're gonna keep your truss on that 8-foot center. So then at that point where you have a header above a garage door or some kind of opening, you need to build a stub column. So I'm gonna turn you around and show you that and why we do what we do. So you can see our trusses, or our columns and trusses are 8-foot on center all the way down. And then we hit this garage door opening which throws off our 8-foot center. So coming from that corner, that truss is still gonna be 8-foot on center. But then we build our garage door opening, which is 12 feet in this case. So our 8-foot on center truss lands right here. You can see on the opposite wall, there's a column. So that's where that truss is gonna come across. So we built this stub column, measure over, mark where it needs to go, and then we nail it in to our headers. That's a 2x12 truss carrying header. And then I also like to put a 2x12 double header at my garage door on the sidewalls. And then my stub column will extend down to both of these and go up and have a pocket to accept the truss. Now I have 4 2x12s in this case. This building's 4 foot wide, so that's plenty to carry my truss load over to the columns and down. All right, so now you can see we have this stub column in. We put this 2x6 in here between our double garage door header. Our stub column comes down to that 2x6, gets nailed in here, gets nailed in there. It accepts our truss there, and then it's our 16-foot nailer for our 16-foot girt. So that 0, 8, and then now that serves as our 16-foot girt nailer. Alright guys, so we have both sidewalls all framed up. We got them broken into sections that we want to lift. Now we're going to start lifting them. So what I'm going to do on this side, since I had taken all my string lines down last fall, I'm going to set my 2 corner posts and then run a string line between them, and then I'll just butt all the middle posts up to that string line so I know my wall's nice and straight. Then when I do the opposite wall, I'll measure across to make sure I'm going to get the width that I want in the building, which is 40 feet. Gosh guys, it's about 1:30. This is the 6th day I've been on this job site, so that includes pouring, laying out and pouring, drilling, pouring my piers, all that. So not bad, but it is 1:30, so this is not going to be a full day. But look at this. It is an absolute mud hole out here. We haven't had rain for a long time, and since I started this build, it's been raining cats and dogs. So I'm gonna start out by getting these bolts in, and then we'll see what time it is and figure out what I can do next to be productive. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap on today's video. My dad and I framed and stood 3 walls in a day and a half, so that's pretty good. It went pretty efficient. One tip is, depending on how you're going to lift your trusses, you'll need to leave a way in. I always leave one of the end walls down so I can drive my skid steer in, bring the trusses in. Once I get the majority of them up, then I will build out that end wall and put my last truss up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, check out our Patreon group. It's a group for self-builders. We do lives. We bring on special guests. It's a great community of self-builders. You get to share your build, get to ask me questions. Also, if you want to design a barndominium, reach out to us, and we can help you out with that. But as always, we appreciate you watching. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next video.